Hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM22 One Club story from Hemel Hempstead Town with me, Daniel. We're back today for part 100 to bring up the century in the Tudor Times. And actually, this is a pretty fitting way to do it. We'll have a tribute to an absolute legend of the club who, as we found out in the last episode, would be leaving in the January window. And we're also going to have a hectic transfer deadline day by the looks of it, because we've had some players sold, ones with offers too good to refuse, ones against our will with release clauses met, and we've got a lot of work to do if we want this squad to be competitive. So if you're looking forward to finding out how the episode goes, as we will face Norwich as well in the Premier League, then please do put a thumbs up on the video, subscribe down below for daily FM22 content, turn on that notification bell to make sure you don't miss a beat, as there's links in the eye above to the latest season of The Head Coach. There's also links up there to the football podcast and the Twitch channel for regular content, and the new merchandise store, where for the next couple of weeks you can get 5% off everything by using the code LOADFM5 at checkout. Finally, you can also support the show as a channel member down below if you wish to, but let's get involved with a big episode because there is a lot to get through here. First things first, we have lost a lot of players this January, and we might lose more because where other clubs are panicking further down the division, we're getting ridiculous offers for some of our older backup players. And while they're too good to refuse, we haven't got replacements ready, so I don't really know what to do. You can see we're still competing for 7th. It looks like Newcastle are going to take the top 6. But let's go and have a look at the transfer window so far, because it's carnage. In terms of ins, I'm currently looking at 6 potential midfielders. Might give you some indication as to where we've lost players this window. And in terms of the outs, I've just had another ridiculous offer I had to accept before this episode. 15 million for Charlie McNeil at 29 years of age. While we might end up having to keep him just to fill the quota in the squad, I feel it's an offer that in other circumstances I couldn't refuse. What it does make me wish is that I'd kept Ricky now, but still, if we go to the transfer history, of course there is one man we have to pay tribute to. There has been a signing already, another South American superstar in the making, but 3 big players have left the club. Ricky Jade-Jones is first, the ultimate club icon. What a player, carried us from League 2 to the Premier League. Let's be honest, when he signed, that's when this save changed. We were stuck fighting against relegation in League 2, 2 years in a row. He came in on a free one summer. We changed to a front 2, put him up with Javan Malcolm, who was scoring goals as well. And now we're a Premier League side. 235 league games, 133 league goals. Signed for free, sold for 10 million at the age of 30. Ricky Jade-Jones will be a legend of this save. What a player he's been, and hopefully he can have a really good spell at Salzburg. We loaned out the youngster Tommy Hounds to Bohemians. He's gone there for the season. He's not going to make it with us, but we will probably sell him next year for a bit of money. And then the one we didn't want, Sebastian Bernal, finally, after a year and a half of random bids, had his release clause exercised. He was unhappy, he wouldn't sign a new deal with us, and he's gone to Celtic for 14.75 million. He's going to be a big miss in this side. Then Christian Flores left the club because we got an offer too good to refuse. £18.5 million from Leeds, again out of contract at the end of next season. He wasn't a great player. He didn't really fit the midfield roles too well. He was one of the least tall, physical players, so didn't benefit us from set pieces. But he has played 111 games for this club. He was crucial in that championship promotion season with 13 assists and has been a bit of a rock in the Premier League, both first season as a starter and second year as a sub. So great to see that those signings, those free agents, those cheap deals a few years ago are now making us big money. But it has left a gaping hole in the squad because we've lost 2 of our midfielders. We then brought back Terry Clark from his loan at QPR, who we sent away in July. He got injured immediately after and has missed 4 weeks, so we haven't yet been able to see him. He basically comes in to back up the number 10 and centre midfield role. And the one signing is not a first team ready player, though he might have to be, depending on how deadline day goes. But he is going to be a superstar of the future. Now, I was so desperate, I signed him half blind. I didn't really have much of a scout report. I knew I wouldn't get one before deadline day. So for £1.1 million and about £4 grand a week in wages, I just went for it. And Rodrigo de Vita is a masterstroke. It takes me all the way back to Gareth McDonough in League Two when we got that lucky loan signing that we signed completely blind. Well, look at this guy. 2.5-star ability, 5-star potential, professional personality, holding midfielder. I think we might have lucked out because I've got a feeling this guy's going to be a superstar. He's 6'1", he's good in the air. I did already know his height and jumping reach, which sort of turned me onto it a bit. But he's brave, he works hard, he's incredibly fit. And he's an under-23 international for his country already. So he might end up being elevated to first choice holding midfielder purely because he's the only one about. But we've signed him for £1 million. I've overdone his wages. He's on £1,400 a week. He's wanted on loan by various clubs. He's going nowhere because he's going to play a lot of football between now and the end of the season. Rodrigo De Vita, whilst not the solution we're looking for now, might end up going down as one of our best ever signings. In terms of the transfer centre, there's loads of potential midfielders coming in. I'm torn between a couple of loan options that just fill the squad for now, and a couple of midfielders that aren't the perfect solution, but might be what we need in the short to medium term. So we'll address that on deadline day. That's coming tomorrow. We've had our tribute to Ricky, the legend himself. Let's have a quick look at the schedule for what's been going on since you were last here. Because there was other news too. Following the last episode where we won 1-0 at West Ham in the Premier League, we almost became one-goal specialists for the rest of the month. We backed up the 1-0 at West Ham, which you saw, with a 1-0 at Everton, a Ricker goal late in the first half, very similar pattern to the game before, a 1-0 win at home to Sunderland, so frustrating. We dominated them. They were in the relegation zone, they were really struggling. It took to the 85th minute to break them down. Prince Shibinda, the lone youngster, getting a rare but very important goal. We then lost 1-0 with United. We played a completely rotated side for it and then beat Crystal Palace 2-1 on New Year's Eve. So it worked out the 5-day rest. Ricker and Ndu got early second half goals before Callum Hudson-Odoi made it a tense finish. Into January, not quite so good so far. We were 2 down against Watford in the FA Cup as we did rotate the squad. We brought on Mario Ricker and Marco Cordes off the bench to save us. And my word, did they do that. Ricker got 2, Sebastian Bernal got 1. And as a result, we progressed to the 4th round where we get lower league opposition. We lost 5-4 to Spurs, 2 for Torres, 1 for Ricker, 1 for Ndu. Just one of those bonkers games. I actually bought on Flores because we knew he was going at that point, and he gave away the penalty that cost us the match. So there you go. Don't always work on fitness basis only. A 1-1 draw though against Everton was a good way to bounce back. We could have held on for the victory, but in the end a draw's not a bad result. Chauvin with another header from a set piece. And we go into this Norwich game, I'd say in pretty good shape. We're comfortable, we're never getting relegated, albeit the points total looks like it's going to be a lot higher this year. We're on 37 and not even worrying about that. If we win this with 25 games played, we will be level with 6th place Newcastle. If we win by 2 goals, we'll be in 6th place itself. So let me pick the 11, we'll be back in a minute to run through it. Because this one, it has to be 3 points if we want to be a top 7 side. So just a few fitness problems today. You can see from our bench, we've got the bare 9 available. And of that 9, only 4 are actually considered fit to play in terms of passing fitness tests and being in good condition. But our starting 11 is fairly strong. We've had to go for Josh O'Brien in the holding role because I didn't want to throw De Vita straight in. A bit like when Bernal joined, he doesn't fully know the language. He's settling into a new level of football. He wasn't even match fit. So we've got to look after him a bit, but he will come off the bench if we're comfortable here. I don't think that's going to happen based on the lineup. Aside from that defensive midfield area though, and maybe the injury to Mayer, we've actually got a very strong squad out, or first 11 out I should say. John Moore is the man between the sticks as always. Shibinda and Chauvin the fullbacks, with Hanifan and Striker at centre half. We've got O'Brien, Ndu, Moreira and Cordes the midfield diamond, and then Ricker and Torres up front. Could be McNeil's last appearance off the bench, could be De Vita's first off the bench, but crucially, it needs to be 3 points. So let's get into it and see if we can produce the goods. Well, it's an unchanged starting 11 for us from the last game against Everton, albeit the bench is completely patched together. Looking at the Norwich side, Ian Birchnell the manager, Lewis Bates in there, but I don't recognise many of the other names. The bench though, Luca Romero, Verscharen's on there, Bradley Fink always seems to score against us, and Alban Kaplanaj is one of many players we've tried to sign this January. So let's get through the dressing room, ask the lads to prove a point, and hopefully in the first half we can blow the relegation candidates away. Well, 18 minutes gone. We've seen next to nothing so far, and we're back for a Norwich attack, which doesn't bode particularly well. Not the sort of game where we want to be getting caught up, because we have been frustrated by these sides recently. We've drawn at home a lot of times to teams in the bottom half. We had that one against Everton last week late on, as Beasley loses a header at the back post, and even Sunderland almost managed to hold us, as Creton's on the right, back to Kim. He finds bait, shoots from distance, but that's comfortably over the bar. No one creating great chances yet. We're just about level on the stats, but neither side looks like winning. As we're back with half an hour on the clock, German Moreira in possession in the Norwich half. O'Brien finds Cordes, oh my words. We know he loves a long distance strike, but that would have been very spectacular. No backlift from 30 yards, the keeper tips it over, and Cordes himself will take the corner, which striker loses the header at the back stick. And we have lost that little bit of aerial threat with Bernal at the back post. So it stays 0-0. We're 10 to half time. It's not been a good game, let's be honest. And there is the half-time whistle. An awful lot of thinking to do, because that was absolutely awful. We're going to ask the lads to prove a point. I don't really know what changes I can make. As we mentioned at the start, the bench is very limited. O'Brien in the holding role has actually been the best player. And the rest of it's our first 11. So perhaps we are going to have to go a little more aggressive. I'm actually going to up the mentality to positive. It's something we did against Watford in the FA Cup to good effect, albeit we were 2 down in that one. And when we've done it in the league, it's often cost us. Let's see what happens here. Moreira wins the ball on the left from Mackie. Does really well there, actually. Finds O'Brien, who puts it into Ndu. Torres plays a 1-2 with him. Ndu through the middle to Rickett. He's 1-on-1. He's in scoring form. But he's put that wide of the net. Oh, my words. How have you missed that, son? Not a good performance from him so far. I'm going to give it 5 more, and then we're going to make attacking changes. Chauvin at right back is absolutely knackered, so we will bring on Danilo Jose for him. In midfield, I take off either Cordes or Moreira, and it's going to be Cordes. He's going to be replaced by, I don't even know who. I might have to go Panjovic. And then up front, Charlie McNeil will replace Torres, who for some reason is absolutely knackered. It's not ideal, but if we can nick a win, I know De Vita doesn't get on again, but it does give us a great opportunity. 15 minutes plus stoppage time to go. We've improved. We've had the better of the stats second half. We've had more chances, but we've not looked like scoring. I'm going to demand more as we head into the final 10, but it looks like frustration's coming again, although this time is when we scored against Sunderland last time out. Let's see if we can do it here. Striker finds Danilo Jose into Ndu. Poor under hit pass for Rickett, and it could go the other way now. The star man's on, who we tried to sign for Norwich, as O'Brien goes back to Moore. It's a big kick forward to McNeil. Flick down for Panjovic. McNeil finds Rickett. Shoots from distance. Was the original header offsides? Because I tell you what, that is a special goal to win a game, if it counts. Michael Oliver goes to VAR, and we might have just done it again. We did it against Sunderland in the 85th minute. And this time it's the 86th from Mario Ricker. We're going into stoppage time. We will get the time wasting on. Obviously, I can't go to a back 5 in this. Or in theory, I could, couldn't I? Because O'Brien's on the pitch, so let's do it. There we go. I've made the changes. O'Brien in the middle of a back 3. Panjovic drops to the holding role. McNeil goes as the number 10. 3 minutes of stoppage time. Another gritty 1-0 win to Hemel Hempstead Town. We're turning into George Graham's Arsenal. It's not exciting to watch, but I'm all for it, because it could get us European football next season against all the odds. Let's go and get through to transfer deadline day tomorrow, though, because I think that's going to make up for any lack of entertainment in that game. Transfer deadline day is here, and it's a busy day expected across the board. Arsenal being linked with Arthur Ndu, you get your hands off. We've been linked with Herb Kudu, someone we've looked at before, but I don't think we're going to be signing him because he's an out-and-out number 10, which is what we don't need. We're going to take part in deadline day, though. We're linked with loads of players, of course. We have trimmed it down a little bit, but it's whether Charlie McNeil leaves the club. Then we might need a number 10. But as it stands, with Flores and Bernal out and De Vita the only one in midfield, I want to push Kaplan in as the backup box-to-box midfielder, and I want to get a starting holding mid in. I'm sort of looking at this guy, Gael Depay, because he's the best halfback, which is the role we use, but he's not a great player. It might be a short-term solution. Arlan is the best player by a mile, would break our wage structure, but again is not really a defensive-minded player. He's good enough to play that role pretty well, though. so I wonder if he could be a solution in a short term. The other options are Ilan Cow from Bournemouth. He's just a very solid run-of-the-mill midfielder, and looking at if Charlie McNeil goes, he's an ideal number 10 as well. Don't know whether that's going to be an option yet or not. Of course, the other option is that Kaplan stays in the holding role. He plays alongside De Vita and Josh O'Brien as a utility there, and then we just sign another centre mid. And that would mean two can come in. De Potter's a massive wage output, but it's only a short-term signing, so we don't then have to worry about getting someone who might not fit, and we can then make a big signing in the summer when we've generally found it easier. And the sort of economic signing, the one that you know I like to go for, is Matteo Montanari, but he's not any utility signing. It's a low wage, it's a relatively low fee compared to most of the others, but he's a very good footballer. He's a centre midfielder, he's very short, but he can play both roles, and I'm pretty sure I tried to sign him before when he was at Aberdeen. But we'll come back to those later in the day. For now, we're taking part. If McNeil goes, we're going to need to sign two of them. If not, probably just one comes in. Well, a couple of hours into the day, Sunderland are bidding for Montanari. We are rejecting loan offers for De Vita because he is at very worst going to be a backup holding midfielder. And I think it benefits him being here. He will become homegrown at the club too. Great for Europe later down the line. We did try and sign a guy as a free agent who came available on the 1st of January. But he opted to go to Rangers instead. It's a fabulous striker, John Blanco from Colombia. But he rejected us. Rangers just offered more of an appealing option. I'm guessing more first team football. And he started pretty well there. The other one we lost out on, I was very angry about this because they said it was a straightforward decision to turn us down. They thought that the club they'd gone to was slightly bigger than us. That club happened to be Real Madrid. Not quite sure what he means by that. How could they possibly be bigger than us? The man we tried to sign there, Fatos Zinovsky, apologies for the pronunciation, 25 million release clause from Anderlecht. He was the man I was going to break the bank for. He was going to become my halfback for the rest of the season. 6 foot, wonder kid, left footed, had every trick in the book, and was only 18 with plenty of room to improve, but I'm guessing we're just not quite Real Madrid's level yet, so that one will have to wait. 11 hours left. I'm still desperately trying to find a striker. I'm getting no closer, so Charlie McNeil, we're going to have to reject it if he agrees to leave. What we have got though is another loan offer for De Vita. That's still going to be turned down. I'm a little concerned there's no news on midfielders, and I still have no clue which one's a pick. Well, why was I worried? 4 out of 5 agree the very next hour. We've got Arlan and Cow agreeing permanent terms. De Potter and Depoy agree in loan terms. Now, I haven't got a clue which to do. I feel like I should sign one permanent option, and probably Arlan would be my pick there, although really it would probably be Montanari. And then maybe Depoy as a loan option because he can actually play the holding role naturally. I'm going to have to go off and do some boring compare withs, so bear with me a moment. I'm going to compare loads of stats, then we'll come back and make a decision. Right, I've done all of my comparisons, and the first thing I'm doing is ruling out Matthias De Potter because the wage is huge and he doesn't offer anything really that the others don't already do, so he's not going to be involved at all. Cal, I don't think is good enough. He's a bit older than the rest at 25, so I feel again, looking at him being a more attacking midfielder, he's got no defensive attributes at all. I have to rule him out too. It then leaves us with Arlen and Depoy. Now, Depoy is a low-risk, low-cost loan signing. I have no issue bringing him in. And even if he's not good enough, he fills a quota in the squad for us, gives us a bench option if we need it. So I'm more than happy to bring in him. The big decision I have is Arlan versus Montanari. Arlan is slightly better, he's slightly younger, he's slightly more expensive, but they're both low enough fees, it doesn't matter. The worry is, with Arlan, that we are breaking the wage structure for someone who is nowhere near the best player at the club. And that is a big decision to make because that sets a precedent. I'm left back in that situation where you're all screaming at me saying, yes, sign him, he's a good player, but he's not my long-term solution. And why would I want to spend that amount of money on someone who's only going to be a short-term fix? If he's on a bigger wage, it's going to be harder to get him out too. But it's January deadline day. You're supposed to panic. Arlan joins the club. Arlan and Depoy in. Deadline day kicks off. Charlie McNeil won't be going anywhere. I bet you weren't expecting that while I was talking through the reasoning. Well, good news is we haven't even had to make a decision on Charlie McNeil because he's rejected Sheffield United himself. We have, though, got Depay in on loan. He is 2.5-star ability, 4.5 potential. Fan says a solid backup. We look very much the same. Can play naturally in centre mid or the holding role. Very solid, brave, professional personality. Fits in with the squad brilliantly. I love that about our squad at the minute. The personalities are really stacking up. A leader, works hard. Good signing. Really pleased with him. Let's ask Rickert to welcome him to the club. And then Arlan, this is the big one. 3-star ability, 3.5 potential. Fan reaction, happy to have signed a good player. How many midfield conductors does one squad need though? You can never have too many, don't you doubt me. We'll get him on the language course, we'll get him welcomed again. But Arlan is a really good signing, I think. Again, fairly professional, likes to get in the opposition area. Could maybe play a bit further forward, looking later down the line. Now let's get through the final 10 hours and make sure we don't lose anyone else. Well, Matteo Montanari has also agreed to join us. He's not going to come in. I don't think he's as good as the others, and we've already signed our 2. So he's going to stay away. De Vita is not going on loan. How many times? And Ordiales is getting an offer from a director of football. He is at Bournemouth. Might actually be better than some of the ones we suggested. He looks a pretty good holding mid, but he's only 5'6", so certainly won't fit our style of play. Well, 8 hours left. Offers coming in for some of our players. Albi Armin, look, it's not enough money. And we're not even going to try and sign a left-back last minute. De Vita still isn't going anywhere. There is an offer for Kudu, but 20 million to Burnley. We've got plenty of midfielders in. And that, I think, is just about it. I don't think there's going to be any more business, but I've been wrong about that before. Well, we've made one more late loan offer for another midfielder because an option came up that was too good to refuse. It's someone we'd looked at earlier in the window about getting on loan, and now the opportunity's there. Villa made a bid, so did we, and they've picked us. Now, it makes us a little bit overloaded in midfield. Maybe we could loan out Terry Clark again because he hasn't played for us yet this season, but I just feel that Adebayo Haruna is a little bit too good to refuse. So with an hour to go, I know it's against time. We're going to try and loan out Terry Clark very quickly. And then we're going to bring in Haruna because I just feel he's too good to refuse. So we're going to accept that. We're going to reject the loan offers for De Vita. There's an offer for Villarreal who we're not going to be signing at 26 years of age. Can we get the offer for Clark? And let's meet our final addition. Haruna is in. 2.5-star ability, 4-star potential, looks a solid player, can play centre mid and attacking mid naturally. Terry Clark is getting offers from Zenit, Valencia and Ajax. Valencia in a second tier over in Spain. Let's accept all 3. We're going to register Haruna for the squad. This is turning into a busier day than we expected, but you can't argue with the quality of the signings, can you? 1 hour to go, will Clark leave? Yes, he will. Terry Clark, first half of the year at QPR, second half at Zenit. De Vita is not going to Aston Villa, who want him, of course, after missing out on Haruna. And with 45 minutes left, the work's finally done on a chaotic, I promised you it would be, transfer deadline day. And there we go. 3 players in on the final day of the window, 2 on loan and 1 for 10.75 million. 3 big sales during the month, but now Flores and Jones. Terry Clark has gone out on loan yet again too, and De Vita joins for 1.1 million. Our wage expenditure, still the lowest in the division, but is up again very slightly. Let's go and confirm though our transfer news for the month. 4 players in, all midfielders. 5 players out, 4 of them midfielders. And a club legend in Ricky Jade-Jones says goodbye to Hemel Hempstead Town. But with that out the way, let's have a look at the schedule for when we're next going to be back. There's every chance it'll be a 5th round FA Cup tie if we get past Reading and get a good draw. Otherwise, we look towards the end of the season where we've probably got to pick up points now and get ahead in that race for 7th. Because the last 3 games, Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal, I would not bank on us to get many points. If you're looking forward to that and you did enjoy this episode, please do chuck a thumbs up on the video. Let me know in the comments what you thought of deadline day, the signings I made and didn't make, and of course the continuation of the 1-0 speciality against Norwich. Subscribe down below and turn that notification bell on for daily FM22 content. We're back with a big one in the head coach tomorrow before the same here in 2 days' time. There's links up there to the football podcast, the Twitch channel and the new merchandise store too. But above my head now is yesterday's head coach episode, and I'll see you back here in a couple of days' time.